Frontline Chat with Harry Tanguy and Dave Wardell.
And here we have Autumn Watch with Finn and Maxie and an imposter, a burglar. Finn, the burglar's behind you. Look at it. See, that's what you need. That is all you need. Finn, you moved. You've got to stay either down or up. Either.
Yeah, don't give him.
That's
my cameraman skills are not that good. There you go, guys. An hour of that. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Oh, now you've ruined it.
I have. This is it.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
You're very pretty.
Oh, you're very pretty too. Yeah. Thanks.
I was given a donut just before I came on live. I can't eat it now.
Donut? That's how very stereotypical of you, dear chap.
No,
mate.
Yeah.
We've got so much to go through at the moment. First of all, I want to.
Anybody else got this?
I want to show this.
Has anybody else got this stuff?
Absolutely yucking it down,
isn't it? Rubbish.
And I was very lucky because I'm going to Exeter tonight, which I wouldn't have been. I would have turned up at an empty do next week because I thought it was next week, and I walked into a mate of mine in the woods, as you do, your worships, and no, and he said, "Oh, you're going to Sean's do tonight?" I went, "Oh, tonight." So I'm glad I met him. So yeah, we're going there tonight.
Lovely.
Yeah, I hope everyone's been well. I was some little scallywag. Now here's a lesson, everybody. Right?
Are you going to play it?
Yeah, I'm going to play it. This is what happens. Right? Let me just move that across there. Production team is very slow again. Hang on a minute. Right. Yeah, basically, this is what happens if you don't lock your car up at night. And I don't know why that's not there. Can you see any of this or not? No, you can't.
You can't see nothing.
Okay. Apologies. I'll just try that in a minute. Yeah, basically, I got my car diddled last night, and I stupidly.
A little bit of.
It's weird because I.
Harry.
Yeah. Remember, guys, lock your car up and don't leave a jacket in the back of it, because that's what people tend to quite like. I don't know why this isn't.
Your lovely Chavy jacket, because you got very defensive about earlier on, didn't you?
Somebody said Super Dry was chavvy, and I'd not had it. Certainly not down here. Right. Okay. You ready? Right.
Ready. The barefaced person.
Yeah. Right. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
This tell you, the Wi-Fi is rubbish today, isn't it? Have you noticed? You were saying that earlier.
Yeah. It's rubbish.
So, he's gone into my missus' car. She's sensibly locked hers and not left anything on the back seat. Look, he looks like a right little burglar, doesn't he? So I'm trying to be as nice and as appropriate as I possibly can. It's very difficult. He's now selecting. Luckily, he didn't damage the bloody thing. Now he's gone, oh, look, there's a nice chavvy jacket in the back seat.
You're going to get beaten up for that comment.
Look at him. He looks like a burglar, doesn't he? If ever they looked like a burglar, he sort of came out with my jacket and then he looked over his shoulder all furtively and went off with the goods. Little sod. What can I say?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely terrible. Right. Who have we got? Who have we got here with us? We got people, Angie from Leeds, County Durham, Pauline. Hello, our friend Maria, who was with us tracking and sent work last weekend from Wales. Boyle. That was a bad Welsh accent, wasn't it?
Yes.
Isle of Wight,
was
West
it? Welsh, was
Midlands.
it?
Yeah.
Hi from the Isle of Man. You just mentioned that.
Yeah,
That Isle of Man. I bet that's
Lenny,
soggy. I know someone called Avril in the Shetlands. Can you imagine how soggy the Shetlands must be?
most of the year. Yeah. Northant.
I'm
Welling.
Do you know what? I'm getting some abuse
Wait.
from Maria now on at least not a jacket you like. It is Chavy. Is it Chavy? Is Super Dry Chavy? Sorry, Super Dry. If you'd like to send me a load of Super Dry stuff to prove it's not Chavy, don't. Not on this one. On my other channel.
I like Super Dry. I can't afford it though.
No. What do you mean you can't afford
You're
it?
rich. You're rich. I can't afford Super Dry. I've got 3 kids.
Such a liar.
Drain the life out of my bank account.
Right. Okay. I want to show something now. I came across this.
Soggy Suffolk, Shropshire, Somerset. Go on. What do you find?
Right. I came across this, and I thought it would be. I thought this was so sweet. Hang on. Oh no! I've just remembered as well. Do you know what? I'm having a bad day because you can't hear any sound.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't hear nothing. Can't see nothing.
No. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves again. I'm going to unshare that screen, and then I'm going to share it again. Okay. I'm going to share the screen now. Guys, I've just seen, because it's basically your daughter who is advertising what she's going to be doing the next day. So here we go. Share my screen. Is it next Saturday, is it?
Yeah, bless her.
Okay. So I just wanted to show this to people because it's great. Right.
Got no sound?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
So, next week, starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday, I will be starting my lives again. We will be doing boundary training. And, so I'm going to teach your dog a safe place to be at home or when you're out at a cafe or a pub. So I'm going to be teaching your dog some boundary training, which is basically your dog staying on the bed.
She's good, she's amazing, bless her.
And get wandering at the end. So next week, 9 a.m. I'll be doing my live, teaching some boundary training.
Yeah. She's a good
Be there
kid.
or be square.
Every Saturday, she's going to be doing her live, 9 a.m. live on Finn's Facebook and Instagram, I think. Doing her dog training live, bless her. She's great. She really
What do they
is.
search for? What do they search for? It's Tia, isn't it?
If you just look under Finn's account, so Fabulous Finn.
Okay.
And then you'll find it there on Bookface.
Wonderful. Quick update on what I've been doing. I've been doing Comms Hero. Went on there to be on the panel show, and you could just see Comms Hero is basically all the communications in whatever business, be it in the police, the business, and we had an hour's discussion on the police, and I invited Tom Gaymore and Nick Knowles to come on, Sophia Khan and myself there, and we had a bit of a chat. Nick Adley should have been there, and he tried, but it's the firewalls of every police force in the world. They just stop you from doing anything with the outside world like that. It's so frustrating. So anyway, so we missed him, unfortunately. But yeah, it was really, really good. And then I hosted a couple of things. I did want to just put something there which was absolutely brilliant, because this Fran O'Hara actually summarized it on these things, and this is just a few of the things that were said in that is brilliant. For example, Nick Knowles,
wow, look at that.
You need an authentic voice on social media. Police officers, not social media, IT or corporates. It was they put officers too scared to. This is what I said. I think officers too scared to go online, but put their head above the parapet. And then I must have mentioned it's water off the duck's back to me. But she mentioned these things in there. There's just loads of stuff. Oh, and then Nick, I gave an example of having to inform comms the following: if I'm on night shift and say an elephant or a rhino, an elephant sort of escapes from the zoo, I need to, obviously tongue in cheek, I send an email to comms like that. And I said, if you don't send it, the journalist will say, oh, did I hear an elephant? And they search elephant. No, there was nothing, because it was actually a rhino. It's those simple things that comms and resources on Twitter need to speak to each other. And in the end, Nick said right at the end, "Oh, Harry, what happened to the rhino in the end?" I said, "Oh, it turned out to be a kitten." So that's the reason they put that there. So it's really clever way of summing it.
Obviously, with what's happened this week, comms, communication between the police and the public is probably more important than it has ever been, if that's possible.
Yeah.
And I do think it's got to be individuals. There's no point having a sticky, beaky corporate facade. It's got to be, like Nick Hadley's video that he did yesterday. Absolutely.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it. He did the video for it. Brilliant. I'm going to have a look at that.
About what to do if a cop stops you, all that sort of stuff. So, we need people to come out. We need, we've got our guest coming on today, and she's her social media account is wonderful. And actually, she did an open letter a few years ago, didn't she? That started a whole load of things up and went viral internationally. It just shows how important social media is. Finn and I have done our best to break down barriers in relation to what we've been doing, and we're still doing other bits and bobs. And actually, Tom and I will be hopefully working together on something soon. Communication between the police and the public has probably never been as important and as delicate as it is right now.
Well, and that's why I think Comms Hero, that was a week long and had 60 guests, 60 speakers. It's a week long. Yes, it's a paid thing. It's a big event. It's for corporate people and whatsoever. But then I was asked to host one of those. And funny enough, you should mention that. Here's Chaya Mistry, who is absolutely wonderful, director of Human League Consulting, and really putting the humanity back into business and getting the corporacy out as such. Not corporacy, but you need to have that to a certain level. But it's people want to hear from people, don't they? They want to hear from people, and they want to know exactly, from the heart what's happening, so they can relate to it. And the only other one I did was and here with Dr. Kendi Guante. If you can look her up, she's amazing. She's lovely, and this was about that very uncontroversial subject of diversity, integration, and what's the word? I want to use this wonderful word that should go along with it. It's basically feeling empowered. It's feeling accepted and that side of things. So it's no good just ticking the boxes, but it's making and getting the people there. It's actually making them feel the part of that department, and that is what it's all about. But she explains such a beautiful way as well.
Another key thing, I think, we've obviously our guest today, Andrea, Mom.
Coming on in a second.
She's a very high-ranking female police officer, and there is no doubt that we need more female police officers in the force, because surely that's the only way we can bring one of the many ways we can bring real change to the police force. And the last few weeks has shown that change is needed, but we should never think that change isn't needed. We should always be evolving. So getting these people to feel that they can come in and they can make a difference, and it's not we've got some work to do. We really have.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to hold it up no longer, because I think we've held back too long as it is. It's so this is Superintendent Andrea Quinton. She's part of the Northwest Regional Armed Police Collaboration. She said she's passionate about caring for her colleagues, and she backs that up, because I see her at these police support charity events and things like this. And she's a trustee of the Thin Blue Line UK, and has a level 7 certificate, diploma in executive coaching and mentoring. It's another thing. It's another people thing, isn't it? And you can see this. It's written all over her about her interest in people. She's been through. She's been with the police for 30 years, a couple of years as a special for the Greater Manchester Police area, and has covered most departments in that time, from response, CID, and so on and so forth, and training. So I think we'll welcome Andrea Quinton. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm loving. Can you? I like that. You have to say, "Mom," and stand and slip.
No,
I used to always answer the phone to higher ranking officers. When they phone me, I think, Mom, standing to attention. It's like at my desk. I'm loving the background there as well.
Yeah, I have to blame my husband for this. This is my husband's office, and this is what he's decorated it in. So, yeah,
good.
It's bright.
It's good.
Very,
It's good.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to start off, really. Yeah, we got to start from the beginning because there's quite a few. Initially, I was doing a bit of research, and
I've noticed you've read.
there's not a lot of photographs. There's not a lot of photographs of Andrea. So I said, Andrea, could you possibly send us a couple of photographs? She was very brave. She was very brave when she sent us these photographs because, and I said the only way it would be fair to do that, in the interests of being accused of bullying and so on and so forth, is that we also supply similar photographs. Okay, so Andrea, this is the best one. Stand by, everyone. This is just wonderful. Look at that. I mean that. But then,
just to prove I was a real, true ginger.
That is amazing. And look, that cheeky grin as ever as well. So I'm just going to actually, I've got to actually balance that up now, haven't I? Really? Because So Dave, you sent one, didn't you, mate?
Yeah.
And you said, so if you want the childish ones of photographs, so I've got this one. Okay. Okay, here we go. And here's Finn as a child.
Oh, that's cheating, Dave. Cheating.
Yeah.
That is cheating, but just in the true sense of not cheating, I think, is just to bring this one. Notice I haven't done one of me yet. There is.
Oh, look.
I still got
there's Dave in his little red dress. Look.
Yeah.
No, okay. All right. There's Dave.
And that's Jess, my God, dad's dog, bless her.
And whose dog was that?
How many shepherds have you had, Dave?
Oh, I don't know. How many shepherds have we had? Too many to count. I'll come back to you on that one. He does need adding up.
See, your wife in the background is like this, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to have to cough this one, actually. We'll do some photographs a bit later as we go along. This one was... Now, you've got to remember, I was the baby of 4, all right? I was the youngest of 4, and so they were lacking on baby grows. Yes, it is pink. It is a pink baby grow.
You look the same, Harry. You've got the same...
Not changed at all.
Really? You wait till you see the next one.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay. I'll add the next one from here actually, if I can remember that. Oh look, that's you got some. That's when I was a special with Mum. I'll rattle through these because they're not nearly there. That's a good one. Look at that hairstyle.
That's a lovely one.
It looks exactly the same.
That's bedhead, if ever it was, Harry.
That's
He's still
70s.
got that same pose going though. There's a pose of him with his book like that. You've got the same.
But yeah, just so you're not let off completely lightly, I think. So we'll just. Oh yeah, this one. This is what happens when you get called more. Say, I want a pet. Can I have a pet? And so I got a pet. What do? You get pet seagull, don't you? So anyway, that one when they're fishing for a load of goby fish, literally was fishing from a barrel, and that's how I fed that one up until it flew away one day. Hurrah!
You did have a friend once upon a time, Harry. It's amazing.
I had to pay them, obviously, clearly, but yeah, that one I paid him with fish. But Andrew, actually, it does get worse for you, actually, I'm afraid, because look, you've got. It was good that you were proud of your hair, I think, and you need to show it. It's like you see a lot of redhead chaps, and they always have red beards. And I always admire that, because they are and proud of it, and absolutely so. But yeah, so
fashion was lovely. I love my red shorts in my picture as well. I think it was just amazing.
Yes, and look at this. This is wonderful. Look.
So where did you start your career?
So 30 years ago this month. I was a special for 2 years before that, but I've got 30 years in this month. Yeah, so that was 30 years ago.
You made it. Well done.
Yay! Well, I don't know. I've not finished this show yet.
Yeah. The other shows were to
I haven't handed
people.
my notice in yet, so anything can happen.
It's to lull people into a false sense of security, and then we've waited for this big one to reveal it all. So
where was that then?
Good.
What force was that? Where did you start?
GMP. I've always been in GMP, but that's at Bruges. So Bruges in Warrington, which was our training centre at the time.
Blimey! So you've always been with the same force. You never thought about.
No, well, so the job I'm in. No, the job I'm in now is sort of part of 6 different police forces across the Northwest region. So I actually work in Cheshire at the minute, but I'm still part of GMP. So.
Oh my God! What's so good about GMP then? Why did you pick there? I mean,
that's controversial at the minute, isn't it? It would be really easy for me to say. I picked GMP because I lived there. I did. I was born and brought up in Manchester, in Sale. So obviously Manchester was my closest one. And they were recruiting, which is always positive, isn't it? So, yeah, no, I did actually apply to the Met as well, but I was 19 when I applied to the Met, and they didn't let me in. So
right.
That's the same as me. Similar to me, the Met didn't let me in. And then I was living in London and applied to Devon and Cornwall, and their first thing they said was, "We're only accepting applicants from Devon and Cornwall." I'm like, "Oh!" But let me take you back to the specials, because I know what attracted me to specials. Yeah. Probably the blue lights and the speeding cars and things. But no, what was it? So there you are, growing up in Manchester, and what was the influence on you to go that direction?
It's really interesting because I never wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be a teacher. My sister wanted to be a police officer and became a teacher, which is a bit bizarre. But yeah, so I was at an all-girls school at Stretford Grammar School for girls, and then in the 6th form, just as we started our A-levels, they merged the boys and girls school, which is always interesting, and they built a purpose-built 6th form common block. So consequently, we all started avoiding lessons, never going, just sitting in this common room having cups of tea and coffee all day. And I met a boyfriend there, who I then got engaged to, and we decided to get married. So I left in the middle of my A-levels.
Controversial! You met a boy and
I know,
disposed of your education.
I threw it all away completely. Yeah. My parents didn't throw me out.
Gemma said that's what she did.
Did she?
Yeah, I was really lucky. My parents didn't throw me out. They just told me I had to start paying rent. So I worked in various different shops. I worked at WH Smith, and I worked at Manchester Airport, and I worked at Max Spielman. But I was really, really, really bored. So bored that I was doing maths GCSE papers, or O-level papers as they were then, because I'm old, at night, just to keep my head going. And then I just saw an advert for the specials, and I was always speaking with the cops that were at Manchester Airport at the time. And so I just thought, well, I'll give that a go, see what that's like. That should be good fun for a bit of a night out every so often. 2 years later, after spending well over 100 hours a month volunteering for the specials, I obviously knew that's what I wanted to do. So I joined the regulars. So yeah, I loved my time in the specials, and as you, Harry, I'm sure, would just recommend it to anyone, because it's just a brilliant way of seeing what you're doing.
People say, "Oh, why would you do that for free?" I said, well, first of all, there's various reasons why people do it. Yeah. They just want to help the community, help people. It's a really good way of going in there and really making an important change parts and giving people confidence to know that there's a better way, perhaps. But they're probably earning twice as much somewhere else, and they can't afford to leave their work or whatever. And or it was like me, it was like an investment anyway. It was a fun investment, so that I could actually say, look, I know I'm very young, but look, I've done the specials for 3 years, So
I highly recommend it to anyone. It was a really good time, and a lot of my closest friends now are from the specials. And they all went on to join the regulars, obviously, as you do. So
do tend to.
It's interesting you say that you would recommend it. You know, you've done 30 years in the job. Sometimes we can get a little bit bitter as we get towards the end. I've still got a long way to go. But
you're not bitter. I wouldn't recognise you bitter, Dave.
No, I love my job. You know I do.
Loveliness all over.
You obviously joined the police in the early 90s.
Yeah, 91, yeah.
And obviously it's changed a lot since then, but what was it like for you? What was your experience as you first
Oh gosh, life on Mars, I think. Yeah, it was it was almost unrecognisable from what it is today. I was looking through before, and the first time I walked into a parade room as a special constable, the first comment that was made is, "I'm not going out with that split arse boss."
Wow.
And I was there in my full length gabardine coat, really useful kit that we were given then as women. A full length gabardine coat, my full leather bag that was like this big, skirt, tights, all the things that you just shouldn't be wearing as a police officer.
The skirts made out of like potato hessian sack.
Yeah. Yeah, and the culottes were even worse because I don't know how they fitted so much material in between your legs on them. I'll let you wear some one day, Harry, and you can see what they feel like.
I'll try anything once.
So that was my first experience of walking into a police parade room, and I think I can safely say that should never happen now. And then when I joined the regulars, the very first thing, obviously, I was given was the brew kit, because you are given the brew kit when you first join the cops. I was the only female on the group. There was another female who just left, and she'd actually gone to traffic, so she was really trailblazing 30 years ago. And the first thing I was asked is, are you a bike or a dyke? Wow. So life has changed considerably since I joined the police.
Now you say that, so can I just ask? Because I hear from certain places, and even from a friend who's experienced the force relatively recently, and they were a little bit disappointed. They said something that, and I won't repeat what it was, but I thought, blimey, that wouldn't be accepted in my force in Devon and Cornwall. If somebody said something like that, I had it, and it sort of. It just really confused me. It really disappointed me. But it was just, and where I don't know whether it's different areas, forces, or whatever. I do remember as a special going in and feeling very unwelcome and sort of, oh God, because at that time it was like, oh, you're taking our wages. Instead of our overtime, they've got youth specials coming in. And then it was like, why do I want to? And then I sort of clicked with this one section, and I would always go out with that one section. It was great. And then you'd find yourself sort of saying, or you'd get dumped with the unpopular member of the section who didn't know any law. So I knew I had to learn the law pretty quick, especially I remember saying, I don't think we can arrest for public order because we're in their lounge at the moment, but I remember that was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
I think things have improved with specials since, aren't they? They're really.
It has. I mean, there are still issues with specials. I find anyway. I get a lot of people coming to me for the specials because I've always worked with them, and I've always really encouraged them because they do make a real difference to us. So I'm passionate about the specials, but they do still get some grief. It's not usually about whether we've cut off their pay or anything now. It's much more just general. Like we've got to look after them. Whereas I see it completely differently. I just think, well, they're highly trained, brilliant additions to what we've currently got. We haven't got enough police officers anyway, and they do a really good job, and they just bring a lot of variety.
It's interesting what Jenny says there, doesn't she? Jenny's that is probably something that was very boringly heard several times.
Yeah, my husband has nothing to do with the police, and I'm really proud of that. But it is another question you always get asked.
Yeah. Oh, Jenny was a cop. She's retired a couple of years ago. She was a dog handler for 20 odd years. So I can imagine when she started dog handling 20 odd years ago that there wouldn't have been too many female dog handlers. And I remember my ACC, Alison Room Gifford, who's now retired, but she was the first female firearms officer, I think, in the country, if not certainly in our region. And I love that trailblazing. It shouldn't be trailblazing, but I do love that. I've never asked female or expected female police officers to fit in. What they bring, what we all bring individually, is brilliant. They shouldn't have to.
I tell you, Dave, I've got to agree.
Hopefully nowadays we don't ask them to fit in and be one of the boys. I hope. I hope.
No, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I was told a comment the other day by a firearms policewoman who had been told that she wasn't allowed to swear because it wasn't ladylike. And I don't think for a minute that the chief inspector meant to be sexist. But I just think it's just a comment that is that, well, you're different, you're female, so you have to act differently and be different. Well, okay, we do. And I think probably what he was trying to say is you don't have to fit in, you don't have to swear. Yeah. But actually, you know, it just shows again that he was going to treat that person differently from anyone else. And you know, what we get from a diverse police force is the ability to choose the best from a much wider pool. And so we always get the best. So it works for everybody, any type of diversity, no matter what it is.
There's so much. Go on, Dave.
This isn't me saying that she should be that way or she shouldn't be that way, but I've got a colleague who I absolutely adore. She's wonderful. She's one of the best dog handlers I've ever met. And I tell you what, if it was a choice of having me in a fight or having her in a fight, you'd have more chance with me. So don't get into a fight with her because she will sort you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do remember when I was in Plymouth and there was a female officer and she was quite crude, very on the bus, quite shocking to the guys. And yet I knew the real her was a really gentle, sensitive, lovely person. And I remember approaching her, because even one of the guys said, I think she just does it to try to fit in a bit. And I did approach her about it because you get on in, it's a smallish section. So, 22 officers then. And I just say, you don't have to do that. Just be yourself. And I think there are those women that join the force that feel then, I imagine, that they feel, I better blend in, keep my head in amongst and sort of keep the criticism away by being one of the lads. But actually, there's nothing I hate more than a section that is just full of guys, because it's like blokey boring. Let's get a bit of flavour in here. Let's get an alternative thing, and it is so much better.
Yeah, we're all just very different people, aren't we? And we all have different skills and different experiences and things that we love. I love going to 999 calls. That was what I loved as a PC. But I had people on my section who loved traffic, and I had other people who just loved going out locking up for crime and everything. We're all very different, but we made a brilliant team.
Yeah. Well, I've done my best not to fit in, because I must admit I'm a little bit different to other people. So it is like you say, Harry, it isn't about being blokey. It's about bringing what you bring to the job. I do remember many years ago, thankfully, but Gemma, my wife, she came up against some. I don't know if you call it, I guess it is sexism, and we shouldn't make an excuse for it, but it was just his old-fashioned thinking when she was looking to come back to work after our first daughter was born. The second daughter was born. The inspector at the time said, shouldn't you be at home looking after the kids? And of course, he would never have dreamt of saying that to me as her other half. And we do split everything. We both look after the children. One's always at home, one's always at work. But you felt, even back then, we felt gobsmacked that he couldn't see that there was something wrong with what he was saying. But it was a long time ago.
Is this a generation then that's falling off the end? Is the new generation like that? Because I've heard some terrible things that young people have said. And I'm thinking, well, where are they getting this from? I thought they would be the most politically correct, sensitive, people, generation coming through. But it's sort of, something happens. I'd love to know where it is that we need to get right to the beginning. Is it school? Is it parents? Is it they learning from their parents? That is it? How long does it take to get through? But it's shocking to hear that it still is happening. But again, in my force, I don't think I was that naive that it was all going around me and I didn't know. But I did want to say very quickly, actually, Andrea, because female officers or women officers in specialist departments, one said something very interesting to me. She says, because I knew as a firearms officer, I would be in training and I would be up the front. And if I messed up, it was like, okay, everyone knows, everyone messes up now and then. You're a firearms tactics commander, weren't you? Oh, I still are, aren't you? I think, Andrea. So you're well aware of the pressures involved with that training and that side of things. And yet a woman said to me, the thing is, not only do they think, oh, look, the sergeant's messed up, should they be a sergeant? Like, was my fear. It was, are they thinking? And she actually said, I don't even know if they are, but are they thinking, oh, there you go, it's a woman with a gun?
Well, so And it's still there, isn't it? And we call it imposter syndrome, don't we? I think a lot of the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
But, you know, when I got the job that I'm currently doing, I had to have do a presentation and have an interview with a deputy chief constable, an assistant chief constable, and a superintendent. And when I got the job, I was shocked. But then the first person to speak to me was a male colleague who said to me, well, you know, you've only got the job because they needed a female. And that was 2 years ago.
Oh,
so it is still vastly out there. And it's no wonder we still feel like that, because that is still there and we still get that comment all the time. So, we constantly are fighting it. And I think it's really hard for us to sit and say, you know, I don't understand how Black people feel. But my friend, you know, her husband is Black, and he says that when he walks down the street, women physically cross the road to avoid him. And he's been a police officer for 30 years, one of the nicest people I could ever wish to meet. And I thought, my goodness, I can't ever experience that, because that's probably never going to happen. God, I don't think I look that scary, although maybe in the middle of the night I do. But, you know, I don't think I look that scary. So I'll never feel it. And it's really hard for us to understand what people feel from all these diverse groups, because we're not in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question from David Williams. David Williams. Sorry, David Williams. He did 7.5 years in the specials at GMP, from 1982. Started with E Division, then A, but he was welcomed, and regular officers wanted to pair up with us once you had got stuck in, and that's the key thing. Once you got stuck in and proved you were not just there to wear uniform, you were actually of use. It was like, oh, I'll have them.
Absolutely. I used to work in Sale Town Centre when I was in the specials and in Max Spielman, and I used to get cops coming in saying, Andrea, we're really short tonight, can you come out? And that's because they knew that I would just back them up and I would be there to support them. So yeah, absolutely, it's got to be for the right reasons.
But hopefully that's the same for everybody. It's about proving yourself, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's, you know, proving that you'll do the paperwork, that you know, you'll be there to support your mates. If one of them presses a panic button, you'll be there. It doesn't matter whether you're male, female, black, white, straight, gay, whatever. Policing is about getting stuck in. I remember talking to a friend of mine. She was in the police. She joined the police, I think, in the 70s. And like you said, Andrea, when she walked into the parade room, as a regular, they said, I'm not taking the plonk out with me. I'm not sure what plonk means, and I hope it isn't a nasty thing. Well, clearly it is a nasty thing, but not rude. And she took it on the chin, and she kind of expected, because back then things were different. But she did get stuck in, and she ended up being a detective sergeant and running a really busy crime squad in the end. So before she retired, but. Yeah, my wife's a cop. She's a way better cop than I will ever be, and I've worked with some incredible people. Again, gay, straight, black, white, male, female. So for me, it isn't about.
And Cornish, Dave.
And Cornish.
Well, you didn't work with me, but you.
We don't know whether you were any good, though, Harry.
I was atrocious. Honestly, I was atrocious. Honestly, tell you annoying people who know. Oh look, that car that was on briefing 2.5 weeks ago. ABC 123, and you're like, how do you do that? You know, it's just
Gemma's like that. She's brilliant.
She's so annoying.
I do think there's something to be said, isn't there? For there's a couple. You know, when competency related pay came out years ago, and they tried to sort of that the aim of that, I always think, was to give people, PCs, extra money because they're so brilliant. And, you know, there's a number of people in my career who I've met who've been PCs all the career. Some of them have tried to go up to sergeant and just come back again because they just love doing the job of being a police officer, and they should be paid far more than I've ever been paid. You know, they absolutely should be. They just, and we really miss that. You know, we miss that opportunity, don't we? The only way of getting more money is to be promoted. But actually, our best cops RPCs all the time.
I can't remember who it was who was saying. It might have been someone like Elon Musk or someone like that. And he said that he looks for the person that's incredible in their role and prevents them from going for promotion by giving them the money they deserve in that role, because he could never find someone to replace that person. They're absolutely top of what they do.
Absolutely.
But in the police, we don't do that. We try. We don't.
I do want to ask you, because you've gone into the operations side. So for everyone, our operations used to include helicopters. But it's dogs, it's cars, it's ARVs, firearms. And I remember our Superintendent Pennington was overheard to say he said, "I've just been given the biggest toy box in the world." He said, he retired a while ago. He was a very popular man. But you used to like going to the 999 calls, you said, and that is it's the action stuff. It's the stuff out there. Is that what drew you towards operations, or what?
Oh, a combination, really. It's a combination of, who doesn't like putting the blue lights and sirens on and going to a job and getting there first and dealing with it and dealing with whatever's in front of you and having that complete shock of not knowing what you're going to, no idea what you're going to. It's just fantastic. But then, Spec Ops is just a world where, like you say, it is the biggest toy box. I get paid to go and watch firearms officers do tactics, and I get to join in. I was talking the other day about saying I want to go and do the dog training where I get a sleeve put on my arm and go and do that. Who doesn't want to do that? And the thing about policing is, what I've always said is, I've never done the same job more than 2 years ever. I've always been able to move on and develop and roll and do something different. And where else do you get to do that without ever leaving the security of the job that you're in? It's just a fantastic opportunity for everybody. And why do I stay in operations? Honestly, genuinely, the people are the best in the world. Don't get me wrong, they are loads of fun in downtime, brilliant, fantastic people to be with, a really good laugh, do loads of jokes. But when the job's on, they just switch on like instantaneously.
That is so familiar. That's so familiar, because I've sat next to many TFC, Tactical Firearms Commander, which would be exactly like yourself. And there was a couple of female officers in Devon and Cornwall, and they, along with the guys, I've got to say, they were a cracking bunch. And it was nothing. I often thought, I want to be the one in the hedge and the one jumping out of cars. And I became Firearms Tactics Advisor, and sitting with you guys, actually looking at the whole thing, and then the TA would give the options available and possibly over sort of this, contingencies, this sort of thing. And it's like a big board game. And you're doing that and you think, okay, but what about the children of the victim? Should we need to get those located, but we haven't got any armed officers. So who should we use? Is it safe enough to use non-armed? Yes, we'll do it. It's a project. And it's there. And then you get, they're going through the door. Okay, ready? Okay, stand by. And you're like, oh, it's so exciting. It is, isn't it? Does this sort of familiar to you?
Frightening. I mean, it's funny. I didn't even know I did know I was being filmed, but my very first firearms job was the one that was screened on the Detector recently. So if you can imagine, I went home at 2 a.m, having just finished getting the authority off the SFC. The job was at 5, so I was getting up again at 4 to come back in. Very first job ever. And they said to me, by the way, you're going to have a full film crew with you. And I'm like, really? And then I've got a whole host of counter-terrorist SFOs. So, I've got a whole host of covert police officers working with me who clearly don't want anything to do with the filming. So I've got to manage all of that as well. And then there's a film crew. Well, I'm doing this briefing thinking, well, it can only go one way, really. But the minute they went through the door, I'll never forget. Honestly, I was literally just like, please.
It's adrenaline, and then you just get that update.
Yeah, and then when you get the update, not only have I got the 2 people you wanted, but I've got the firearm. And I've got some of the jewellery that was from the job. Then, you're just like, that's absolutely brilliant. And if you listen to the show, you will hear me swear just before I say, that's a really good job. Well done.
When's that on? When's that on, Andrea?
Oh, it's been on. It was on earlier this year, but there was only, I think, 3 episodes played because there's a couple of cases that are still at court. Right. So, yeah, but I didn't even know when it was going to be on. So it was on BBC One, I think.
Okay. And it's
or
called
BBC
The Detectives.
2, maybe. It's called The Detectives, yeah, and it's all GMP. It does follow some brilliant detectives in GMP. and Maya is just one little tiny part of it. But
Right.
yeah.
I'm just going to move you on to the charity, because it's very clear that you're not
Okay.
only are you passionate about what you do, but you're passionate about your officers, and clearly with that comes being passionate about their well-being. So how did all that sort of start for you?
Okay, so if you remember, about 6 years ago, Dave Phillips was murdered in Merseyside, and he was run over when he was putting a stinger out for a stolen vehicle. And I was just, I don't know, I was incensed. I was really angry, really, really angry that somebody could think that, a punctured tyre was worth killing a police officer for. I just found it incredible. And so I went for a run, which I don't do. I don't run, but I did go for a run. And then I came back, and that's when I wrote the open letter to the public, which was one of its first of its kind, really. And after it had gone viral, I phoned up my senior leadership team to say, oh, shit, I think I've just got the cat out of the bag, and I've just written this letter, and it's coming back to me from Hong Kong and Australia. But yeah, just to say, we're human beings. We're human beings. We're individuals with families. We've got children. Yeah, absolutely. Those two little girls, watching those two little girls go and put the flowers at the side where he died. I was so angry. And so I wrote that open letter, and I put it on the Thin Blue Line UK Facebook page. And obviously, because it went viral, I became a large part of that with Gary, who set it up after Nicola and Fiona. So we did a ball in Edinburgh, and then he asked me to come on board, and I helped him with a ball in Northern Ireland, which was one of the first of its kind, because, I mean, gosh, we think we've got it bad over here, but the officers in Northern Ireland genuinely are still checking their cars every day for
I was on a course recently, and they had up in Brighton, and they had a board with all the police officers they've lost in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's just, and even now, it's really hard for them. And then I helped him. Then we ran the ball in Manchester, which obviously Harry came to. That's the one I met Harry at. So so we started off by raising money, initially giving it to people like Police Care UK and cops and the police treatment centres for the last one. But now we're just still a very small charity. We're just looking at raising awareness, really, around the mental health of police officers.
I remember I wrote at the end of my book that I work with a lot of people who see some dreadful things day in, day out, and they go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And there was a stat that came out, wasn't there, a few weeks ago, about the average person will be involved in 4 to 6 traumatic incidents, and the police officer will be involved in 400 to 600. And I think that really does hit home. And I wrote in my book that I thought PTSD in policing would be a real issue in the coming years, because only really now are we properly starting to talk about it. And it's great to see that the military, although they still need to do more themselves, they really have taken the lead on it. But I think our PTSD needs to be looked at individually on its own, because it is very different to the military PTSD, style of PTSD that they suffer with, because you do never get away from it. You are, it's the battleground, isn't it, for army or the training? But for us, you live in that battleground, and you live in that training, so you never get away from it. And I think it does need to be a lot more, and there will be a lot more work done into how you can help cops, if we want 30-year cops, how you can help cops through a 30-year career, seeing all the things that they're going to see. And you did a post, something about mental health, about actually talking about it and realizing that we all have mental health. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's amazing, but we all have mental health.
We do, and I think we're a lot better now, aren't we? We do talk about it. We encourage other people to talk about it, but we do still have a lot of reticence about it. Certainly, even in firearms, it was discussed recently at a meeting. If a firearms officer says, "I just don't feel it today," I just don't feel capable today of going out with a firearm. Well, do they lose their ticket altogether? Or actually, is it just a thing for that day? And then what's it like if they then go to a job and end up at a hearing? We're just in a very unique position, aren't we? It's really difficult. And the jobs we deal with again and again and again and again. It's not just that we go to one and we have a one-off incident. It's just a continuous process of the stuff that we go to. You know, I spent a weekend of literally just going to people killing themselves by jumping into rivers in the summer, you know, and it was just like one after the other on a bank holiday weekend. And it's just, you know, when you're dealing with the family and the trauma and the friends and everything else that goes with that, you do take it home with you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely, you do. And normally you're on straight on to the next job.
Yes.
Me and my dog found someone the other day, and sadly it was too late. And the family all converged on it, and you drove away from, you know, their lives being absolutely shattered, and you were able to just drive away. But then of course you're called to the next job and the next job, and eventually you've got to find time to sit and deal with it. And I don't mind admitting that guy did come and visit me at about 3 o'clock in the morning the following day. It was just, you know, one of those things. We knew we couldn't have done anything better. We couldn't have got there any quicker, and he actually meant it. And he'd obviously got the conclusion that he wanted. And once you sort of do your best to try and park it, then you do move on. But we do see some horrible things. What are your hopes for your charity?
It's still really young, so I think we have to find our niche, a little, you know, what is it that isn't already out there? You know, there was 2 police officers who have committed suicide in the past few months that I know of. And you know, there is no charity currently that looks after their family. They specifically exclude people who have lost their loved ones in that way. So, you know, maybe that there's just little things out there, little niches, but we just need to make sure that what we want to do is to just share as much as possible around what is out there for people with mental health, make sure that people are really, really being encouraged to talk about it, and just raising the awareness really of what is likely to trigger it, because we just don't always realize what's going to trigger it. And sometimes when someone's triggered by something small, it will be because of something that's happened way back when. So it could be that someone goes to a domestic and suddenly they collapse in a heap at the police station. You don't know why, but actually it's because they've suffered years of domestic abuse. And, you know, so it's just being really alive to it. And we've all got a responsibility to do that.
And that's I've heard that far too often. And just because police are police officers doesn't mean they're not suffering from domestic abuse, that side of things. I've heard it from people, and it's staggering. You just think, you assume that they're, you know, authoritative and take charge and this sort of thing. But manipulation and coercion is a very powerful thing.
Actually, if on that vein, I'll try not to get controversial, but on that vein, you know, if it's got to that point where police officers are going home to cause domestic violence, surely we've missed something. Surely
I'm thinking if they were victims, Dave, of it.
Well, and even perpetrators.
They were victims of it. This is what I mean. I mean, because...
but you know, GMP did a fantastic series a few years ago. Not a series on telly, a series for us actually, for us as learners, where it was all of the victims that spoke to every single seminar. Were victims of domestic violence, but they were also detective superintendents, detective chief inspectors. They were male, they were female, they were gay. And the impact on everybody in GMP at that time was huge, absolutely huge, because these were our colleagues who, you know, we had worked with day in, day out for years and didn't know. And so, you know, if the thing is, I suppose it's just an awakening, isn't it? If we're like that and we don't see it in our closest colleagues who we work with for 10 hours a day, then how can we expect to turn up to a house to the very first time someone's called the police for a domestic and expect to get their life story? You know, it's not going to happen. So it's just it's just being alive to those things, isn't it? The more we learn, the better we become.
I mean, Jill says something there, just slightly off. A lot of people think this. Police officers need to be seen more on foot patrols, not whizzing about in the car. Unfortunately, Jill, it was hard enough before they took a whole load of, basically defunded the police and took a whole load of people away. And what you'll find, there's often the case that there's outstanding immediates. It's a bit like, you know, the 999 calls. And it's a bit like ambulances, you know, that you could wait quite a while for an ambulance now because of the level of calls. And there's just not enough people. So, my goodness, there's many a police officer would love to do foot patrol.
I do agree with Jill. What I will say is I was neighbourhood. I know you've done neighbourhoods as well, Andrea. I was neighbourhood 15 or more years ago. And I used to do a lot of foot patrol, and I had a really, really good team of PCSOs. Again, another one of those resources
fantastic.
that sometimes get a bit of flack, but they're incredible. And my wife works with a whole bunch of incredible PCSOs, and they do a hell of a lot of foot patrol. You still get people say, and I still used to get people say, well, I never see you doing foot patrol. And I think, well, that's because you're in your box. You're in your little box. Your living room at the back of the house, and you don't see me walk past, but I am there.
This is true, though, Dave. This is true, though, because I was driving through a new town that Prince Charles has built up, Lansleyden, and it's near Newquay. It's beautiful. I mean, it's lovely because it's all different, and he doesn't just go for cheap. He goes for quality and something good. But you do go through, and there's cars parked there, but there's not one person about because people are in on the internet. They're not walking, bustling around to see their neighbours, going round and see.
I get that, but I do agree with that. I mean, you know what I always say to police officers, especially new ones, it's a massive confidence boost if you can walk down the street and deal with anything that comes in front of you.
Yeah.
When you're in a police car, you can drive past someone that's waving, and whether they're waving at you to say hi or whether they're going, please help, you can drive past. Whereas I think to build the confidence of new police officers by being on foot patrol in a city centre where you can't avoid people and you have to talk to them is immense. The benefits of it are huge. So
that's a very good point.
But you're absolutely right. It's really difficult for us to do that with the numbers that we've got. And, my area, and someone mentioned the E division before in Manchester, that's where I started as a full-time police officer. And my beat there used to have up towards 40 police officers in the area with 2 dog handlers and a traffic officer. And then when I policed it as an inspector just 5 or 6 years ago, I paraded on a Friday night with 2 police officers. That was it. And it was the same area. So we are massively in a position where we just haven't got enough police officers, but it is hugely beneficial.
Yeah, good. Okay, I'm going to just... Your Twitter page, I suggest people have a look at that. You got quite a few followers there, haven't you, actually? Because for not being funny, the higher up the rank you get, the more difficult it gets because, it tends to be, you're in ops, aren't you? So you're doing really good stuff. You're not just doing policies and stuff like that.
Well, I try to avoid that. Corporate accounts can do policies.
I was just being absolutely brilliant. What I want to remind people before they go is if they, first of all, to get that Twitter, that's Andrew's Twitter is ACQ91. It's nearly as catchy as my DCARVSGT one, which was and now is EXARVSGT. we don't think of these things at the time, but it's sure to the point we know what it means, don't we? Or you do.
I do, yes. 91 is obviously the year I joined, so that's the first bit.
Right. Okay.
I'll let you guess what my middle initial stands for.
Oh, Charlotte, is it?
Oh, I'm not going there. No.
Caroline.
Caroline, I reckon.
Carol.
I might tell you offline.
Is it Cynthia, an S or a C? I don't know. Okay, we're running out of time here, but please, you can see Frontline Chat on stage, basically, with Dave Wardell, myself, in Chester, and that's on the 10th of November. And tickets are out. If you just search for Story House Chester, and we're called Cops and Comedy. So it's going to be a really good night because Arthur Smith is going to be doing a routine afterwards, but he's also mixing around us. And we've also got Ian Paulson-Davies, who was a previous Frontline Chat guest. So that's really good. I tell you, we're going to have a hell of a time, aren't we, Dave?
Dave, I hope we can meet you. Can I meet you on that day, Dave?
Oh.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Oh, that's it. So
I'm there.
you brilliant. You coming to that one, Andrew. You very kindly promoted it for us. And just to let you know, for anyone, if you actually do, for the next couple of days, if you do a tweet with hashtag Frontline Chat, you get a free couple of tickets. All right. So we'll select someone for a pair of free tickets with the hashtag. I can't say it, Dave. Frontline Chat. It'd be good to see people. Andrew, it's just been phenomenal. It's been amazing to have you here.
Thank you.
I think it's been some
You've been
really
very gentle on me.
There's been really serious topics discussed, which I think is really important as well, and to see it from perspective. Last word, what would you say to someone to say, I'm thinking of joining, male or female, and maybe a different answer for each, I don't know, but I'm thinking of joining. I'm just not sure because there's so much negativity in the press at the moment.
The media are one thing, but actually the support from the public and the support from inside, this is the best family you will ever join. It's the best job you will ever do. It's a great variety and absolutely never be put off by what the media say.
I can't
Just
say
join the
anything more than
police.
that. Goodbye all.
Bye, take care.
Stay online for a few seconds, okay?